Nanabushu and Muskrat make an earth. Mawiza, Mawiza, long time ago. Rain started, more rain. As though it would never quit, the water rose so fast that our Nanabushu ran to the top of a hill. The water followed him. At the top of the hill there was a pine tree. Nanabushu climbed the tree. Still the water kept rising. He said to the tree, "Brother, stretch yourself." The tree stretched twice as long. He climbed some more, then asked the tree to stretch again. The tree stretched 4 times. That's how tall it was. Finally, the tree told Nanabushu that he couldn't do any more for him. That was as high as the tree could go. But when the water stopped, Nanabushu was standing at the top of the tree. He had his head back, and the water was up to his mouth. After a while, Nanabushu decided that there were animals playing in the water. Nanabushu noticed that there were animals playing in the water. Beaver, muskrat, and otter. Nanabushu spoke first to Otter, asking, "Brother, could you go down and get some earth? If you do that, I will make an earth for you and me to live on." Otter said to Nanabushu, "I will try." Away he went down to the bottom of the water. But Otter didn't get halfway to the bottom. He drowned, then floated up to the top. Nanabushu caught hold of the otter and looked into the otter's paws and mouth, but didn't find any dirt. Then Nanabushu blew on Otter and brought him back to life. "Did you see anything?" he asked. "No," said Otter. The next animal Nanabushu spoke to was Beaver. He asked him to go after some earth down below and said, "If you do, I'll make an earth for us to live on." Beaver said, "I'll try," and went down. Beaver was gone a long time. Pretty soon he floated to the top of the water. He had also drowned. Nanabushu caught hold of the beaver and blew on him. When Beaver came to, Nanabushu examined his paws and mouth to see if there was any dirt, but he couldn't find anything. "Did you see any earth at the bottom?" Nanabushu asked Beaver. "Yes, I did," said the beaver. "I saw it, but I couldn't get any of it." These animals had tried and failed. Muskrat was also playing around in the water. Nanabushu didn't think much about the muskrat because he was so small, just a little animal, too weak. But after a while he said to him, "Why don't you try and go after some of that dirt too?" Muskrat said, "I'll try," and he dived down. Nanabushu waited and waited a long time for Muskrat to come up to the top of the water. When he floated up to the top, he was dead from his exertion. Nanabushu caught hold of Muskrat and looked him over. Muskrat had his paws closed up tight. His mouth was shut too. Nanabushu opened Muskrat's front paw and found a grain of earth in it. He took it. In his other front paw, Nanabushu found another little grain, and 1 grain of dirt in each of his hind paws. There was another grain in his mouth. When he'd found these 5 grains, Nanabushu blew on Muskrat until he came back to life. Then Nanabushu took the grains of earth in the palm of his hand. He held them up to the sun to dry them out. When they were all dry, he threw them around onto the water. A little island rose. The 4 went onto the island: Nanabushu, Otter, Beaver, and Muskrat. Nanabushu got more earth on the island and threw it all around. The island got bigger. It got larger every time Nanabushu threw another handful of dirt. The animals at the bottom of the water, whoever was there, all came up to the top of the water and went to the island, this earth we are on today. Omachias knew that her Nokomis told her this story for a larger reason than just because she asked for it. She thought many times of the muskrat diving down, down, down for that little bit of dirt that made the world. She imagined Muskrat finally pulling to the very bottom and grasping that bit of earth in its paws. "If such a small animal could do so much," Nokomis always said after she finished the story, "your efforts are important too." As if he had understood Grandma's story, Ondig made his own effort. Her, her crow hunted mice these lean days with more savage intentions than when merely keeping them away from his family of humans. He hunted for survival. The bird eagerly awaited any mouse who dared enter the house. Hungrily, Ondig dropped and struck hard, killing the little animal and quickly eating it. Ondig also hunted in the woods for seeds and nuts, cached by squirrels. That winter, Ondig found a little hollow in a tree next to the cabin. Some squirrel had filled the hollow with acorns, seeds, hazelnuts, enough to feed the family for a day or two. Neshki, said Mamma, her hands full, one morning. Look what that good bird found for us. Ondeg was looking at the food cache as though he wasn't quite sure he'd meant to share, but Mamma was pleased. She scattered a big load of acorns on the hearthstones and looked at them with satisfaction before she began to break the little shells with her smoothest pounding rock. She shelled the acorns, ground them fine, roasted them with a bit of cornmeal, and that night the family had sweet acorn cakes. From the last cone of maple sugar, she made a taste of syrup for them all. And that night, at least, they went to sleep with a comfortable warmth in their stomachs. All of them, before sleeping, thanked Ondeg, who, though he usually slept outside, was invited in that night. He sat above the fire on a thick twig perch Day had fastened between the mortared stones. Ondig preened his feathers, very glad to be so warm, bobbed his sleek head, and blinked his brilliant eyes. Tomorrow, resolved Amachias, now that she had a bit of strength, she would make her small, important effort like the muskrat. She would go out with Ondeg and find more squirrel caches in the woods. She didn't reckon on her own weakness, however, nor could she ever have imagined the swiftness of Old Tallow's justice.